Welcome to DC What If. Today we bring you an unforgettable story. What if Superman landed in Wakanda instead of Smallville? Loving our content? Smash that like button and join our family by subscribing. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let the story begin. Chapter 1, The Star Child. The night sky above Wakanda blazed with unusual light. King Chaka stood on the palace balcony, watching as something streaked across the stars, not a meteor, but something controlled, purposeful. "My king, our sensors detect an object of unknown origin," Zuri said, rushing to Chaka's side. "It will make landfall in the borderlands within minutes." Chaka nodded. "Assemble the Dora Milaje. We leave immediately." Within moments, royal transports screamed through the night sky toward the border region. Chaka felt it in his bones, something momentous approached Wakanda. The border tribe had already secured the perimeter when the king's ship touched down. The object, sleek and clearly not of earth, had carved a furrow into the red soil. "Stay back," Chaka ordered as the craft hummed with energy. The metal shell cracked open, revealing not weapons or invaders, but a small pod. Inside lay a baby, peaceful despite its violent arrival. Chaka approached cautiously, vibranium spear at the ready. The child opened its eyes, startlingly blue against dark lashes, and reached toward the king with tiny fingers. Chaka lowered his weapon. "Bast has sent us a sign," he murmured, lifting the baby from its cradle. "A child of the stars." The infant didn't cry, just studied Chaka's face with impossible focus. Something inside the pod caught the king's attention. Crystalline structures unlike anything Wakandan technology had created, pulsing with their own light. "My king," Zuri warned, "we know nothing of this child's origins." "We know he has traveled farther than any man to reach us," Chaka replied. "And that is enough for tonight." The council meeting erupted into chaos the following morning. "You bring an outsider into the heart of Wakanda?" The mining tribe elder slammed his fist on the table. "And not just any outsider, one who fell from the sky in alien technology." "The child poses no threat," Chaka said calmly. "Not today," the border tribe representative countered. "But what of tomorrow? We know nothing of his kind." Queen Ramonda stood, silencing the room with her presence. 6 months pregnant with the royal heir, she commanded respect even beyond her title. "I have held this child," she said. "I have looked into his eyes. There is no evil there, only need, the same need all children have." "With respect, my queen," the river tribe elder spoke softly, "compassion cannot override caution. Our sensors detected energy unlike anything in our databases within that craft." Chaka nodded. "Which is precisely why the child must remain in Wakanda. Imagine such technology, such power, in outside hands." This, finally, gave the council pause. "The child stays," Chaka declared. "He will be raised alongside my son as a prince of Wakanda. The ship and its contents will be studied by our scientists. No word of this reaches beyond these walls." 3 years later, Nkalu. "Chala. Return at once." Ramonda's voice echoed through the royal gardens as 2 small boys raced between vibrant flowers and ancient trees. Chala, Crown Prince of Wakanda, led the way with determined strides. His companion, slightly taller with strikingly light eyes, followed close behind. "We're exploring, mother." Chala called back, climbing onto a stone bench. "You're meant to be at your lessons," she replied, hands on hips but smiling despite herself. "Both of you." Nkalu, the name given to the star child, stopped immediately at the queen's command. For all his wild energy, he responded to authority with unusual attentiveness. "Sorry, mother," he said, the Wakandan words perfectly formed despite not being his first language, whatever that might have been. Ramonda watched the boys race back toward her. Though not of her blood, Nkalu had become as much her son as Chala. The decision to raise him as royal family had caused strife, but Chaka remained firm. The boy would be a prince of Wakanda, with all the privileges and responsibilities that entailed. What no one had anticipated were the differences that began emerging. At 3, Nkalu already stood taller than children 2 years older. His strength, too, exceeded normal bounds, something they discovered when he accidentally broke a vibranium-infused toy meant to withstand a child's play. "Come," Ramonda said, taking each boy by the hand. "Your father wishes to see you both in the lab." Chala groaned. "Is it more tests for Nkalu?" The queen squeezed his hand. "Your brother's gifts require understanding." In the royal laboratory, Chaka observed as scientists analyzed data from Nkalu's most recent examinations. The child sat patiently as scanners passed over his small body. "Remarkable," the lead scientist murmured. "His cellular density continues to increase. And these readings from his ocular structures, they suggest vision capabilities far beyond human range." Chaka nodded. "And the crystals from the ship? Still largely incomprehensible, my king. But we've managed to extract some data. They appear to contain a vast repository of information, possibly the entire cultural and scientific knowledge of an advanced civilization." Chala tugged at his father's robes. "Can we go now? You promised to show us the rhinos today." Chaka laughed, lifting his son. "So I did." He looked to Nkalu, still sitting quietly on the examination table. "Come, my son. You've been patient enough." Nkalu jumped down, landing with unusual lightness for a child. "Will I get to ride one too?" "When you're older," Chaka promised. "For now, just watching." As they left the lab, the king's Kimoyo beads chimed with an urgent message. His expression darkened. "It seems our outing must wait. The council demands my attention." He looked to Ramonda. "Another debate about our star child, no doubt. 7 years later, keep your guard up, Chala." Okoye circled the young prince, her training spear at the ready. At 10 years old, Chala showed remarkable skill, dodging her next thrust with practiced ease. Nearby, Nkalu watched intently, legs crossed on the training room floor. "Your turn, young prince," Okoye called, gesturing for Nkalu to join them. The boy rose with fluid grace. Already taller than Chala despite being the same age, Nkalu's movements held a restrained quality, like someone constantly calculating the exact force needed for each action. "Remember," Okoye instructed, "technique before strength." Nkalu nodded, assuming the traditional Wakandan fighting stance. When Okoye struck, he parried perfectly, each movement precisely controlled. "Good," she approved. "Now attack." Nkalu launched forward, his speed startling even the experienced warrior. She blocked his strike, but the impact vibrated through her spear. "Control, Nkalu," she reminded him. "You're not fighting to hurt." "Sorry," he murmured, immediately adjusting his force. From the doorway, Chaka observed with Princess Shuri in his arms. At 3 years old, the youngest royal already showed intellectual brilliance that rivaled the star child's physical gifts. Again, Okoye commanded. The training continued, Nkalu growing more precise with each exchange. Chala watched with a mix of admiration and something else, a competitive edge sharpening between the brothers as Nkalu's abilities continued developing beyond normal parameters. Later that evening, Nkalu sat in his chamber, staring at the strange crystals Chaka had given him on his 7th birthday. Taken from his ship, they supposedly contained knowledge of his birth people, whoever they were. So far, they remained inert, despite Wakandan science's best efforts to activate them. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Chala slipped into the room, flopping onto Nkalu's bed with casual familiarity. "Father's taking me to the borderlands tomorrow," he announced. "Just me." Nkalu set the crystal down. "That's great. You're not upset." "Why would I be?" Nkalu shrugged, though something tightened in his chest. "You're the heir." Chala studied his brother. "You know, Just because you're stronger doesn't mean you get everything. I don't want everything, N'Kalu replied quietly. I just want to belong. The Crown Prince sat up. You do belong. You're my brother. Not by blood. Blood? Chala scoffed. Since when do you care about blood? We're Wakandan. Family is more than blood. N'Kalu smiled faintly, but his eyes drifted back to the crystal. Don't you ever wonder where I'm really from? What I really am? You're N'Kalu, son of Chaka and Ramonda, Prince of Wakanda and royal pain in my backside. Chala threw a pillow at him. That's all that matters. 4 years later, focus, N'Kalu. Zuri's voice cut through the sacred space of Bast's temple. At 14, N'Kalu knelt before the altar, struggling through the meditation exercises all Wakandan adolescents mastered. I am focusing, he insisted, eyes squeezed shut. No. You're trying to force control rather than finding balance. N'Kalu exhaled heavily. The past year had brought new challenges as his body changed. While Chala experienced normal adolescent growth, N'Kalu's development accelerated dramatically. His strength increased tenfold. His senses sharpened to painful levels. Worst of all, the first hints of abilities no human possessed had emerged, occasional moments when objects seemed lighter than they should, when his vision penetrated solid matter. I can't quiet my mind, N'Kalu admitted. Everything's too loud. Too bright. Zuri's expression softened. Perhaps we need a different approach. He retrieved a small pouch from his robes. These herbs normally connect us to the ancestral plane. For you, they might help quiet the noise of this world instead. N'Kalu accepted the bitter concoction, drinking it without hesitation. The effect came swiftly, the cacophony of sounds faded, the overwhelming sensory input dimming to manageable levels. Better? Zuri asked. N'Kalu nodded, exhaling with relief. Much. Good. Now we begin again. Hours later, N'Kalu found Chala in the design lab where Shuri, despite being only 7, already commanded attention from scientists twice her age. Look what I made for N'Kalu, she announced, holding up a pair of glasses with distinctly non-reflective lenses. They filter light frequencies to reduce sensory overload. N'Kalu accepted them gratefully. Thanks, Shuri. Try them on, she insisted, practically bouncing with excitement. The glasses worked instantly, dampening the flood of visual information that had become increasingly overwhelming. N'Kalu smiled, his first genuine smile in weeks. They're perfect. Of course they are, Shuri stated matter-of-factly. I'm a genius. Chala rolled his eyes. And so humble. Their banter was interrupted by a palace guard. Prince Chala, Prince N'Kalu, the king requests your presence immediately. They found Chaka in the restricted section of the royal library, surrounded by ancient texts and modern scanning equipment. The crystals from N'Kalu's ship hovered in a containment field, now glowing faintly. You've made progress, N'Kalu observed, approaching the familiar objects with renewed interest. Indeed. Chaka looked grave. We've managed to extract some information. I believe it's time you learned more about your origins. Chala moved closer to his brother, a silent show of support. The crystals contain a message, Chaka explained, addressed to you, N'Kalu. Or rather, to Kal-El, your birth name. The name resonated strangely, both foreign and familiar. You come from a world called Krypton, Chaka continued. A highly advanced civilization that faced extinction. Your parents sent you here to survive. N'Kalu stared at the glowing crystals. A refugee. A survivor, Chaka corrected. The last of your kind, as far as we can tell. How did they die? N'Kalu asked, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Their planet was destroyed. Internal forces, geological instability. Chaka gestured to the containment field. There's more. Your biological father was a scientist named Jor-El. He believed your physiological makeup would react to Earth's environment in specific ways. My abilities, Nkalo understood. They're not random. No. Your cells absorb and process solar radiation differently than humans. It's the source of your strength, your speed. And according to these records, you'll develop more abilities as you mature. Chala whistled. More than being able to bend metal bars and outrun cheetahs. Nkalo barely heard him, transfixed by the knowledge of his true heritage. Do the crystals say why? Why send me to Earth? Why not go themselves? There wasn't time, Chaka answered gently. They could only save one. They chose their son. The weight of an entire dead civilization settled on Nkalo's shoulders. He stood silently, processing the revelation. This changes nothing about who you are to Wakanda, Chaka said firmly. You remain my son, a prince of this nation. But I believe you deserve to know your full heritage. Thank you, father. Nkalo's voice caught slightly. May I have time with the crystals? Alone? Chaka nodded, gesturing for Chala to follow him out. The prince hesitated. I can stay if you want, Chala offered. Nkalo shook his head. Not now. Later. When the door closed, Nkalo approached the hovering crystals. As his fingers touched the nearest one, it flared brilliantly, projecting an image of a man with his same eyes. Kal-El, my son, the projection spoke. If you're viewing this message, then our worst fears for Krypton have come to pass. 3 years later the Challenge Falls roared, water crashing over ancient stones as the royal family gathered for Nkalo's 17th birthday. According to Wakandan tradition, he'd reached the age of Ascension, old enough to participate in ritual combat and claim his place as an adult in the royal hierarchy. Are you ready? Chala asked, adjusting his ceremonial armor. Nkalo nodded, his own armor modified to accommodate his broader frame. In the 3 years since learning of his Kryptonian heritage, his powers had grown exponentially. He could fly, brief, controlled levitation that still left him breathless with exhilaration. His vision could pierce solid objects. His strength had become nearly immeasurable. I've been training for this my whole life, Nkalo replied, though anxiety churned beneath his confident exterior. The ceremony wasn't just symbolic. As an adopted prince, Nkalo needed to prove his worth to Wakanda through combat. The challenger awaiting him was M'Baku, future leader of the Jabari tribe, who had specifically requested the honor. Remember, Chala said quietly, this isn't about your strength. It's about your heart. The drums began, signaling the start of the ceremony. Chaka addressed the gathered crowd from the royal platform. Today, Prince Nkalo faces the challenge of Ascension, his voice boomed over the falls. Though not born of Wakandan blood, he has grown under our sun, learned our ways, and honored our traditions. Now he must prove his worthiness to stand as a man among us. M'Baku stepped forward, towering and powerful. At 20, he already carried himself with the authority of a future tribal leader. I challenge Prince Nkalo, he announced, not as an enemy, but as one who tests the mettle of Wakanda's adopted son. Nkalo approached the ceremonial circle, heart pounding. This fight required perfect control, enough strength to win, but not so much that he might seriously harm M'Baku. The combat began with traditional weapons, blunted spears that clashed with thunderous force as the two young men circled each other. M'Baku struck first, his technique flawless, power behind every thrust. Nkalo parried, remembering years of training. He fought as a Wakandan warrior, not as a Kryptonian. When M'Baku landed a powerful blow, Nkalo accepted the pain without flinching, earning appreciative murmurs from the crowd. You fight well for an outsider, M'Baku grunted, swinging again. I fight well for a Wakandan, Nkalo corrected, countering with a move Chala had taught him. The battle intensified, spears discarded for hand-to-hand combat. Nkalo carefully regulated his strength, matching M'Baku's power without overwhelming it. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, could result in serious injury. M'Baku landed a devastating combination, driving N'Kalu to the edge of the ceremonial circle. The crowd gasped as N'Kalu teetered on the brink. "Yield," M'Baku demanded. "There's no shame in accepting defeat." Something flared in N'Kalu, not anger, but determination. He'd spent his life holding back, containing his power. For one brief moment, he allowed himself to tap into his true strength, moving with Kryptonian speed to slip past M'Baku's guard and flip the larger man onto his back. The impact drove the breath from M'Baku's lungs. Before he could recover, N'Kalu pressed his forearm against the challenger's throat, not hard enough to harm, just enough to subdue. "Do you yield?" N'Kalu asked quietly. M'Baku struggled briefly, then relaxed. "I yield." The drums thundered in recognition of N'Kalu's victory. Chaka stepped forward as N'Kalu helped M'Baku to his feet. "Prince N'Kalu has proven himself worthy," the king proclaimed. "Let him be recognized as a man of Wakanda, a warrior of royal blood." The celebration continued late into the night. N'Kalu slipped away from the festivities, seeking quiet on a palace balcony overlooking the city. Chala found him there, 2 cups of ceremonial wine in hand. "Hiding from your admirers?" Chala teased, offering a cup. N'Kalu accepted it with a smile. "Just needed a moment. It's a lot to process." "You fought well." Even M'Baku was impressed, though he'd die before admitting it. "I almost used too much strength," N'Kalu confessed. "For a second, I forgot myself." Chala leaned against the railing. "But you didn't. That's what matters." They stood in comfortable silence, watching Wakanda's lights shimmer below. "Father's planning an announcement," Chala said finally. "About you." N'Kalu turned. "What kind of announcement?" "He thinks it's time Wakanda had an official protector, someone who can defend us without revealing our technological advantages to the outside world. He wants me to be some kind of warrior." Chala nodded. "More than that. A symbol. The outside world grows more chaotic every year. Father believes your abilities could serve Wakanda's interests beyond our borders." "I've never left Wakanda," N'Kalu said quietly. "Maybe it's time you did." Chala studied his brother. "Aren't you curious about the world outside?" N'Kalu stared up at the stars. Somewhere among them, the remnants of his birth planet still traveled the void. "Yes," he admitted. "I am." 1 year later the vibranium mine echoed with frantic shouts as workers evacuated. A support beam had failed, trapping 3 miners behind tons of rock and threatening a catastrophic collapse. N'Kalu arrived moments after the alert, his black and silver suit gleaming in the emergency lights. Designed by Shuri, the uniform incorporated Wakandan and Kryptonian technology, enhancing his already formidable abilities. "Everyone clear the section," he ordered, voice carrying authority beyond his 18 years. "I need space to work." The mine supervisor nodded, recognizing the royal insignia modified with the symbol of Kal-El's house. "The trapped men are approximately 50 meters in. Oxygen levels are dropping." N'Kalu focused, engaging his enhanced vision to peer through the rock. He located the miners, injured but alive, huddled together as dust filled their lungs. "I see them," he confirmed. "Stand back." With controlled power, N'Kalu began clearing debris, lifting massive boulders that would have required heavy machinery. Each movement calculated, he created a stable passage through the collapse. "Prince N'Kalu," one of the watching miners whispered. "Bast has truly blessed him." Within minutes, N'Kalu reached the trapped workers, carefully extracting each man and flying them to safety. Medical teams rushed forward as he delivered the last miner. "The structural integrity is compromised throughout this section," N'Kalu reported to the supervisor. "I can reinforce the main supports temporarily, but you'll need proper repairs before mining can resume." The supervisor bowed deeply. "Thank you, Black Panther." Nkala nodded, accepting the title Chaka had bestowed upon him 6 months earlier. While Chala remained heir to the throne, Nkala had assumed the mantle of Wakanda's protector, the Black Panther with powers beyond human capability. Back at the palace, Chaka waited for his report. All miners rescued, Nkala confirmed. No fatalities. The king nodded approvingly. You've grown into your role admirably. Thank you, father. Chaka studied his adopted son, pride evident in his expression. Tomorrow's council meeting will discuss expanding your duties. There have been incidents beyond our borders that may require intervention. Nkala straightened. What kind of incidents? Arms dealers operating in neighboring countries. They've obtained weapons that suggest stolen Wakandan technology. Chaka's expression darkened. We cannot allow such breaches to continue. You want me to go outside Wakanda? As the Black Panther, yes. Your abilities make you uniquely suited to handle these threats without revealing Wakanda's true nature to the world. Nkala felt a surge of excitement mixed with apprehension. Though trained extensively for this role, he had yet to test his powers beyond Wakandan borders. I won't let you down, he promised. Later that evening, Nkala found Chala in the combat training room, sparring with Okoye. Father's sending me outside, Nkala announced when they paused. Chala grinned. Finally. I've been telling him you're ready for months. Okoye lowered her spear. The outside world isn't like Wakanda, Prince Nkala. Their rules differ. Their perceptions of power are complicated. I'll be careful, Nkala assured her. No one will connect the Black Panther to Wakanda. It's not Wakanda I'm concerned about, Okoye replied. Once the world sees what you can do, they will fear you, or worse, seek to control you. Chala clapped Nkala's shoulder. Don't listen to her doomsaying. You'll be magnificent. Nkala smiled, but Okoye's warning lingered. Will you come with me? First mission beyond the border. Can't, Chala sighed dramatically. Father's insisting I attend diplomatic training with the River Tribe. Absolutely riveting stuff. Poor Crown Prince, Nkala teased. Such hardship. Their banter was interrupted by Shuri's arrival. At 11, she had already revolutionized several aspects of Wakandan technology, including Nkala's suit. I have upgrades, she announced, waving a data pad. The energy absorption matrix needs recalibration. You're not efficiently processing solar radiation. Nkala groaned. More tests. Do you want maximum power or not? Shuri demanded, hands on hips. Always so pushy, he complained, but followed her toward the lab. It's not pushiness. It's efficiency, she corrected. Besides, I've figured out how to integrate your birth parents' technology with ours. The suit will amplify your natural abilities by approximately 27%. Nkala stopped. You've decoded more of the crystals. Some, Shuri admitted. They're remarkable, quantum storage technology far beyond even our development. Your people were impressive, brother. The casual acknowledgement of his heritage, so typical of Shuri's matter-of-fact approach, warmed Nkala unexpectedly. If they were so advanced, why couldn't they save themselves, he wondered aloud. Shuri's expression softened. Sometimes intelligence isn't enough. Sometimes you need wisdom too. 2 days later the arms dealers never saw him coming. Operating from an abandoned factory near the Wakandan border, they'd established a profitable business selling weapons enhanced with stolen technology. Nkala observed from above, hovering silently as he counted guards and identified security systems. His enhanced vision revealed 23 armed men and a substantial weapons cache, including devices clearly derived from Wakandan design. War Dog report confirmed, he murmured into his communication device. Proceeding with extraction. The first guard fell without a sound, unconscious before he hit the ground. Nkala moved with superhuman speed, systematically neutralizing the outer security team before they could raise an alarm. Inside, he encountered heavier resistance. Gunfire erupted as he breached the main storage area, bullets bouncing harmlessly off his suit. "What the hell is that?" one mercenary shouted, emptying his magazine toward the black-suited figure. Nkalo didn't answer, simply accelerated forward, disarming 3 men in seconds. Another guard activated what appeared to be a sonic weapon, likely stolen Wakandan tech. The blast hit Nkalo directly, sending him staggering back as his sensitive hearing overloaded. Pain lanced through his skull, temporarily disorienting him. The mercenaries pressed their advantage, surrounding him with weapons raised. "Not so tough now," the leader sneered, adjusting the sonic device. "Let's see what you're made of." Nkalo centered himself, focusing through the pain as he'd been taught. With a sudden burst of speed, he launched upward, breaking through the factory roof to escape the sonic attack. The mercenaries fired wildly, their bullets finding only empty air. From above, Nkalo targeted the sonic weapon with pinpoint precision. His eyes flared with heat, and a concentrated beam struck the device, melting it instantly. The leader dropped the superheated weapon with a scream. "He has some kind of laser." Nkalo descended, landing in their midst with controlled force that cracked the concrete floor. The display of power froze the remaining mercenaries. "The weapons don't belong to you," Nkalo stated calmly. "Neither does this territory." "Who are you?" the leader demanded, clutching his burned hand. "I am the Black Panther," Nkalo replied, the name feeling right on his tongue. "Protector of these lands." The skirmish ended quickly, the mercenaries no match for Kryptonian strength combined with Wakandan combat training. Nkalo secured the stolen technology and transmitted coordinates for war dogs to collect the captured arms dealers. As he prepared to return home, movement caught his attention, a child watching from a nearby hillside, eyes wide with wonder. Nkalo hesitated, then approached slowly, landing several meters away to avoid frightening the boy. "You can fly," the child said in accented English, more statement than question. "Yes," Nkalo confirmed. "Are you an angel?" The question startled a laugh from Nkalo. "No. Just someone trying to help." The boy studied him with solemn eyes. "Will you come back?" "Our village, there are bad men who come sometimes." Something tightened in Nkalo's chest. This child's world extended beyond Wakanda's carefully controlled borders, beyond the safety Chaka had provided him. "If you need me," Nkalo promised, "I will come." The boy nodded, satisfied with this simple assurance. As Nkalo lifted into the air, he watched the child run back toward a distant village, no doubt carrying tales of the flying man in black. The implications of his promise weighed on Nkalo during his flight home. He'd been raised to protect Wakanda, to safeguard its secrets. But his powers, his very existence, complicated that mission. How could he limit himself to Wakanda's interests when he could hear cries for help from miles away? Chaka was waiting when Nkalo landed on the palace landing pad. "Mission successful," Nkalo reported. "All technology recovered, arms dealers captured." "Excellent," the king approved. "But something troubles you." Nkalo hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I encountered a child from a village near the operation. He asked if I would return if they needed help." "And your response?" "I said yes." Nkalo met his adoptive father's gaze. "I couldn't say otherwise." Chaka sighed, gesturing for Nkalo to walk with him. "This has always been the challenge of power, my son. Where to direct it, how to constrain it. Should I have refused?" "No." Chaka's response came without hesitation. "You answered from your heart, as I raised you to do. But understand, each time you extend your protection, you create expectations. Obligations. These multiply quickly. I can't ignore suffering when I have the power to stop it," Nkalo said quietly. "No. You cannot." Chaka placed a hand on his shoulder. This is why your role as Black Panther must be carefully managed. You represent Wakanda, even if the world doesn't know it. The conversation continued as they entered the palace, neither noticing the subtle shift in the political winds about to overtake them. 1 month later, Vienna International Center, the international accords represent a commitment to global security and cooperation. Chaka addressed the assembled delegates, his voice measured and authoritative. Wakanda supports this initiative as part of our increasing engagement with the international community. Nkalo stood at attention nearby, not in his Black Panther suit but in traditional Wakandan formal wear. Chala remained in Wakanda, handling domestic affairs during the king's absence. This marked Nkalo's first official international appearance, carefully stage-managed to present him as a Wakandan prince without revealing his extraterrestrial origins. The speech continued, Chaka outlining Wakanda's cautious steps toward greater global involvement. In the month since Nkalo's first mission beyond the border, his activities had expanded. 3 more operations targeting weapons traffickers, a rescue mission during regional flooding, intervention in a cross-border tribal conflict. Each action carefully calculated to establish the Black Panther as a regional protector without revealing Wakanda's technological capabilities. Nkalo scanned the crowd, his enhanced senses alert for any threat. Security was tight, but his experiences had taught him caution. Something felt wrong, a subtle tension in the air, an irregularity in the building's environmental systems. A security officer caught his attention, moving with unusual urgency toward a service entrance. Nkalo focused his enhanced vision, noticing an anomaly in the man's heartbeat, elevated beyond normal stress levels. "Father," Nkalo murmured, stepping closer to the podium. "Something's wrong." Chaka glanced at him, registering the warning without breaking his speech. With practiced subtlety, he activated his Kimoyo beads, alerting their security team. Nkalo continued scanning, his vision penetrating walls to track the suspicious officer. The man had entered a mechanical room, accessing controls for the building's ventilation system. Then Nkalo saw it, an explosive device, timer counting down. "Bomb," he shouted, abandoning protocol as he lunged toward Chaka. The explosion came seconds later, a thunderous blast that shattered windows and sent delegates screaming for exits. Nkalo's body shielded the king as debris rained down. When the initial shockwave passed, he assessed the situation rapidly. "Are you injured, father?" Chaka shook his head, already issuing commands through his Kimoyo beads. "Find the bomber." "I am secure." Nkalo hesitated briefly, torn between protecting his father and pursuing the threat. "Go," Chaka ordered. "The Dora Milaje will protect me." With superhuman speed, Nkalo tracked the security officer, now fleeing through emergency exits. The bomber had a head start, but no human could outrun a Kryptonian. Outside the building, chaos erupted as emergency vehicles converged. Nkalo spotted his quarry boarding a motorcycle, weaving through panicked crowds. The chase led through Vienna's streets, the bomber demonstrating professional training in evasion tactics. Nkalo followed without his Black Panther suit, careful to maintain a human appearance while closing the distance. When they reached a less populated area, Nkalo accelerated, catching the motorcycle and forcing it to stop. The bomber abandoned his vehicle, drawing a weapon. "You're fast," the man acknowledged, his accent suggesting Eastern European origins. "But are you bulletproof?" The gun fired, bullets impacting Nkalo's chest with enough force to tear his formal clothing but causing no injury. The bomber's eyes widened in shock. "Who sent you?" Nkalo demanded, advancing as the man emptied his magazine uselessly. Instead of answering, the bomber reached for another weapon, a detonator. "Close enough to catch me, too far to save them." Nkalo realized the implication instantly, a second bomb. Without hesitation, he subdued the bomber with a precisely calculated blow, rendering him unconscious without permanent injury. The detonator had already activated. Nkalo focused, using his enhanced vision to scan the convention center. There, in the East Wing, where delegates were being evacuated, another device counting down. He flew, propriety forgotten in the urgency of saving lives. The speed of his movement created a sonic boom that shattered windows along his path. Inside the convention center, Nkalo located the second bomb secured beneath a support column. Seconds remained on the timer. With no time for delicate disarmament, he made a split-second decision, wrapping himself around the device as it detonated. The explosion tore through his already damaged clothing, the force momentarily stunning even his Kryptonian physiology. When the smoke cleared, Nkalo stood unharmed in the center of what should have been devastating destruction. Around him, shocked faces stared, delegates, security personnel, journalists with cameras recording. His secret exposed in the most public manner possible. Chaka approached slowly, his expression unreadable. "Father," Nkalo began, uncertainty in his voice. The king raised a hand, silencing him. Then, to Nkalo's surprise, Chaka embraced him tightly. "You saved many lives today," he said simply. "The rest we will handle." But both knew that nothing would be the same. The world had witnessed abilities no human possessed. Questions would follow. Demands for explanation. Fear and wonder in equal measure. 2 weeks later, Royal Palace, Wakanda, the Americans have requested a formal meeting, Wabi reported to the assembled council. As have the Russians, Chinese, and European Union. All demanding explanations about Prince Nkalo's nature. Chaka nodded grimly. The weeks following the Vienna incident had been tumultuous. Despite Wakanda's attempts to control the narrative, describing Nkalo's abilities as the result of advanced but classified Wakandan bioengineering, speculation ran rampant. "What exactly do they want to know?" Queen Ramonda asked. "Everything," Wabi replied. "The source of his powers. Whether there are others like him. If his abilities can be replicated. The Americans particularly want to know if he can be controlled." Nkalo sat silently, the weight of global scrutiny heavy on his shoulders. The carefully constructed life Chaka had built for him was unraveling. "And what of the bomber?" Chaka inquired. "He died in custody," Zuri answered. "Cyanide capsule hidden in a false tooth." "Professional. So we don't know who targeted you," Chala concluded. "Or whether their primary goal was assassination or exposing Nkalo." The implication hung heavily in the air. Had someone suspected Nkalo's true nature? Orchestrated the attack specifically to force his public revelation? "We need a new strategy," Chaka decided. "We cannot put this revelation back in the bottle. Instead, we must shape how the world perceives it." The council debated late into the night. Options were presented, analyzed, discarded. Through it all, Nkalo remained mostly silent, listening as his future was discussed. Finally, he spoke. "May I offer a suggestion?" All eyes turned to him. "The world has seen what I can do. They fear it because they don't understand it, and because it appeared suddenly, without context." Nkalo met Chaka's gaze. "What if I didn't hide anymore? What if the Black Panther operated openly, not just as Wakanda's protector, but as a force for good wherever needed?" Murmurs rippled through the council. "You suggest revealing yourself completely?" the mining tribe elder asked, alarmed. "Not my Kryptonian origins," Nkalo clarified. "But my abilities, yes. Let the world see them used transparently, for protection rather than power." Chala nodded slowly. "A symbol. Parameters for my involvement that protect Wakanda's interests while allowing me to help where I'm needed most." Chaka studied his adopted son thoughtfully. "You've given this considerable thought." "I have." Nkalo straightened. "Father, you raised me to use my abilities responsibly. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. I cannot do that if I'm hidden away, used only for Wakanda's specific interests." The statement hung in the air, both challenge and plea. "The council will deliberate," Chaka announced finally. "Nkalo, Chala, leave us to discuss." The princes exited, walking together through palace corridors in companionable silence until they reached a private terrace overlooking the city. "You realize what you're asking," Chala said finally. "Once you step into the world spotlight, there's no returning to anonymity." "I know." Nkala gazed toward the horizon, beyond Wakanda's protective barrier. "But I can't keep pretending I'm only meant for one country when I can hear cries for help from across continents." Chala studied his brother. "This isn't just about duty, is it? This is about identity." "Maybe." Nkala smiled faintly. "I am Wakandan in my heart. But my powers, they come from somewhere else. Perhaps they have a purpose beyond our borders. Father won't easily accept this. He's protected you, protected your secret, your entire life. And I'm grateful. But I'm not a child anymore." Nkala turned to face his brother. "What would you do, if you had my abilities?" Chala considered the question seriously. "I would protect Wakanda first. It's my birthright, my responsibility. And then..." A smile spread across Chala's face. "And then I would do exactly what you're proposing. Use that power where it's needed most." Their conversation was interrupted by approaching footsteps. Zuri appeared, his expression grave. "The king requests your immediate presence," he announced. "There's been an incident." They found Chaka in the communication center, surveillance footage displaying on multiple screens. The images showed destruction, a research facility in flames, bodies scattered across debris-strewn grounds. "What happened?" Chala demanded. "Attack on a Wakandan outreach center in Nigeria," Chaka explained. "One of our humanitarian missions." Nkala stepped closer to the screens. "Casualties?" 12 confirmed dead, including 4 Wakandan scientists. Chaka's voice hardened. "The attackers took experimental medical equipment and research data." "Who would target a medical facility?" Chala wondered. "Someone who knows its true purpose," Wabi suggested. The humanitarian mission was a cover for vibranium-based medical research. Nkala studied the footage with growing unease. "This feels connected to Vienna. Too coincidental otherwise." Chaka nodded grimly. "The council has reached a decision regarding your proposal, Nkala. In light of these attacks, we believe a more visible defensive posture is warranted." "You're approving my request?" Nkala clarified, surprised by the sudden reversal. "With conditions," Chaka qualified. "You will operate as the Black Panther, Wakanda's official protector, with the authority to act beyond our borders when necessary. However, all missions must be approved by the Council. Your Kryptonian origins remain classified. Officially, your abilities derive from Wakandan technology and the heart-shaped herb." Nkala nodded, accepting the compromise. "And the Nigeria attack?" "Your first mission under the new parameters," Chaka confirmed. "Find those responsible. Recover our people and technology." "I'll go with him," Chala volunteered. Chaka considered briefly, then nodded. 2 Panthers are better than 1. But remember, this is a recovery mission, not vengeance. As preparations began, Nkala felt a strange mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The path ahead would irrevocably change his relationship with the world beyond Wakanda's borders. "Ready for this?" Chala asked as they geared up, his own Black Panther suit darker and more traditionally designed than Nkala's. "Born ready," Nkala replied, fitting Shuri's latest enhancements to his suit. "Time to show the world what Wakanda's princes can do." "Just don't forget who's the heir to the throne," Chala teased. "As if you'd let me." Their banter masked deeper emotions, brotherhood forged through years of shared experiences, rivalry tempered by genuine affection, uncertainty about the changes their relationship would face as Nkala stepped into a more public role. As they prepared to depart, Chaka approached for a final word. "My sons," he said, pride evident in his voice. "You go forth as Wakanda's finest. Remember your training, trust each other, and return safely to us. We will, Father, they promised in unison. The Wakandan aircraft rose silently into the night sky, carrying the princes toward a future neither could fully anticipate, one that would test not only their abilities, but the very foundations of their identities. Neither suspected that this mission would lead them to a confrontation that would change everything, or that Chaka's time as ruler was rapidly drawing to a close. Within days, an assassination would succeed where the Vienna bombing had failed. Within weeks, Chala would assume the throne, and Nkalu would face a choice between his Wakandan family and his Kryptonian heritage. But for now, they flew together as brothers, united in purpose and determination. Chapter 2, Two Princes. The funeral lasted 3 days. Wakandans from every tribe gathered to mourn their fallen king, their wails of grief echoing across the valley as Chaka's body returned to the ancestral plane. Nkalu stood beside Chala throughout the ceremonies, a silent pillar of support as his brother faced the burden of kingship. "You should rest," Nkalu said on the final evening, finding Chala alone on the palace balcony. "Tomorrow's challenge day. How can I rest?" Chala's voice cracked with exhaustion. "Father is gone, and his killer walks free." The assassination had happened with brutal efficiency, a bomb during Chaka's address to the United Nations. Nkalu had been halfway across the world, handling a crisis in South Sudan. By the time he returned, Chaka was dead. "We'll find him," Nkalu promised, the words hollow even to his own ears. Chala gripped the railing, vibranium alloy bending beneath his fingers. "I should have been there. We both should have." The guilt cut deep. Nkalu's enhanced hearing could have detected the threat, his speed could have stopped it. If only he'd been present. "The council expects me to focus on the coronation while my father's murderer escapes justice." Chala's voice hardened. "I cannot accept that." "Then don't." Nkalu placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. "Challenge day can wait." Chala shook his head. "No. Wakanda needs stability now. The ceremony proceeds as planned. But afterward, we hunt," Nkalu finished. Dawn broke over Warrior Falls, sunlight catching the mist that rose from churning waters. The tribes gathered on stone outcroppings, their ceremonial garb creating a tapestry of color against black rock. Zuri presided, his voice carrying over the falls as he called for challengers to Chala's claim. The Jabari came first, Baku stepping forward with confident swagger. "The Black Panther needs to be more than just a warrior," he proclaimed. "We need someone who understands tradition, who doesn't entrust Wakanda's future to outsiders and technology." His gaze shifted meaningfully toward Nkalu, standing among the royal family. The combat proved brutal but decisive. Chala emerged victorious, offering Baku mercy rather than defeat, a gesture that surprised many. As Zuri prepared to conclude the ceremony, another voice rang out. "I, too, challenge for the throne." The crowd parted, revealing a man unknown to most. Muscular and scarred, he carried himself with military precision. "Who are you?" Chala demanded. "I am Jadaka, son of Prince Njobu." The challenger removed his shirt, revealing ritualistic scarification covering his torso. "I have come to claim my birthright." Nkalu stepped forward, studying the man's face. Something in the bone structure, the set of his jaw, it resembled Chaka's. Zuri paled. "This is not possible." "Ask him," Jadaka pointed at the priest. "Ask him how the son of a Wakandan prince ended up abandoned in Oakland." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Is this true?" Chala looked to Zuri, confusion evident. The old priest lowered his eyes. "Njobu had a son. We believed him lost during Njobu's death." "Not lost," Jadaka countered. "Left behind. While you," his gaze shifted to Nkalu, "welcomed an alien into the royal family." The word hit like a physical blow. Nkalu stiffened, aware of every eye suddenly upon him. "What is he talking about?" someone whispered loud enough for his enhanced hearing to catch. "The challenge is valid," Zuri declared reluctantly. By blood and by law. My name is Eric Stevens, the challenger announced to the assembled tribes. American Special Forces. They call me Killmonger. I'm here to claim what's mine. The combat began immediately. Unlike M'Baku's traditional approach, Killmonger fought with ruthless modern efficiency. Chala, already exhausted from his previous battle, struggled to maintain advantage. M'Kala watched, heart pounding, bound by tradition that prevented interference. When Killmonger gained the upper hand, driving Chala toward the falls, he nearly broke the tradition, only Queen Ramonda's restraining hand stopped him. Trust your brother, she whispered. The trust proved misplaced. Killmonger's blade found Chala's side, then his chest. With a final brutal strike, he sent the king over the falls into the churning waters below. The king is dead. Killmonger roared. Long live the king. M'Kala lunged forward, only to be restrained by multiple warriors. No. Chala. Stand down, Okoye ordered, though her own voice shook with emotion. The challenge is complete. He's your prince. M'Kala struggled against the grip of 6 Dora Milaje. And you are bound by the same laws, Okoye replied quietly. Challenge day is sacred. Even for you. Killmonger approached, triumph evident in his stance. The alien prince, he mused. Not feeling so special now, are you? M'Kala could have broken free easily, could have snapped the spears holding him like twigs. But generations of Wakandan teachings held him in place more effectively than any physical restraint. I could challenge you, M'Kala growled. You. Killmonger laughed. You're not even Wakandan. The alien my uncle adopted as a pet. He leaned closer. Yeah, I know what you are. N'Jobu kept records of everything, including the ship that crashed with a baby inside. M'Kala froze. How much did this man know? The traditions are clear, Zuri interjected. Only those of royal blood may challenge on coronation day. Convenient, Killmonger smirked. Take the royal family to their quarters. Keep them there. As guards escorted them away, M'Kala caught Shuri's eye. The teenage princess gave an almost imperceptible nod toward her lab. A plan, or at least the beginning of one. We must leave Wakanda, Ramonda urged once they reached the royal chambers. Eric will kill us all to secure his position. I'm not leaving, M'Kala stated flatly. Chala could still be alive. No one could survive that fall, Nakia argued, though her voice betrayed her hope for the contrary. I could. M'Kala moved to the window, staring toward the falls. I need to search for him. And reveal yourself completely? Ramonda asked. Eric already knows more than he should about your origins. If you display your full abilities now, I don't care. The frustration burst from M'Kala. Chala is my brother. I should have stopped this. This isn't about you, Shuri snapped, her young face fierce with determination. It's about Wakanda. We need a plan, not regrets. M'Kala took a deep breath, forcing his emotions under control. You're right. What's your thinking? My lab, she said simply. If we can reach it before Eric destroys my work, a commotion in the corridor interrupted her. The door burst open, revealing Killmonger flanked by members of the border tribe. Thought you might be planning something stupid, he announced casually. Time for a family meeting. They were escorted to the throne room, where the council waited. Killmonger had already changed into royal regalia, the panther habit draped across the throne beside him. Figured we should clear the air, he addressed the assembled group. I know some of you got concerns about my leadership style. Wabi stood at his right hand, a position that sparked anger in Kalu's chest. The border tribe leader had switched allegiance with suspicious speed. You murdered the rightful king, Kalu stated flatly. I defeated him in ritual combat, Killmonger corrected. Something you wouldn't understand, not being Wakandan and all. Murmurs rippled through the council. What does he mean? The mining tribe elder asked, looking between Killmonger and N'Kalu. Killmonger smiled, settling into the throne. You never told them, did you, Chaka? Never explained where this adopted son really came from. He leaned forward. Want to tell them, or should I? N'Kalu held his gaze. I was raised by Chaka and Ramonda as their son. That's what matters. What matters, Killmonger countered, is that Chaka found an alien, yes, an actual fucking alien, and decided to make it a prince while abandoning his own blood in Oakland. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Lies, the River Tribe elder shouted. Ask him, Killmonger pointed at N'Kalu. Ask him how he flies. How he lifts tons without effort. How bullets bounce off his skin. All eyes turned to N'Kalu, whose jaw clenched with suppressed rage. My son came to us as a child, Ramonda interceded, her regal bearing undiminished by their reduced circumstances. The circumstances of his birth do not change his place in our family. Family. Killmonger spat the word. While the sons and daughters of Wakanda suffer around the world, you adopted an alien and gave him a crown. I never wanted the crown, N'Kalu said quietly. Only a home. Something flickered in Killmonger's eyes, perhaps recognition of a shared displacement. It passed quickly. Well, this ain't your home anymore. Tomorrow, I send Wakandan technology to our brothers and sisters around the world. We start the liberation. Chaka was too cowardly to begin. He gestured to the guards. Take them to separate quarters. The alien goes to the detention level, vibranium restraints. As guards approached, N'Kalu tensed. He could resist, could likely overpower everyone in the room. But at what cost? Wakandan lives lost in the crossfire, the very people Chaka had raised him to protect. Don't fight, Ramonda whispered. Not yet. He submitted to the restraints, specially designed vibranium cuffs that dampened his strength without the need for kryptonite, which Wakanda had synthesized years ago but kept secure in Shuri's lab. I'll come for you, he promised as they were separated. Shuri called back as guards led her away, the answer is in the stars. N'Kalu pondered her cryptic message as he was escorted to the detention level, a rarely used facility deep beneath the palace. The cell they placed him in had been constructed years ago, a contingency Chaka had authorized should N'Kalu ever lose control of his abilities. The irony wasn't lost on him as the vibranium door sealed shut. Hours passed. N'Kalu tested his restraints periodically, finding them formidable but not impenetrable. With time and effort, he could break free, but not without alerting guards. Instead, he focused his enhanced hearing, tracking movements throughout the palace. Killmonger was meeting with tribal leaders, consolidating power. The Dora Milaje had withdrawn to their quarters, divided in their response to the new king. Ramonda and Shuri remained under guard, but alive. No mention of Chala. No body recovered from the falls. The answer is in the stars, Shuri had said. What did she mean? The ship that brought him to Earth? The Kryptonian crystals? A commotion down the corridor interrupted his thoughts. Guards shouting, weapons discharged. Then silence. The cell door opened, revealing Nakia in War Dog tactical gear. Can you break those restraints? She demanded without preamble. N'Kalu nodded. With time. We don't have time. She produced a small device, one of Shuri's designs, and applied it to the cuffs. They deactivated with a soft click. We need to move. Now. Shuri. Ramonda. N'Kalu rubbed his wrists as they hurried down the corridor. Already extracted. Okoye is creating a diversion at the east gate. Where are we going? Nakia's expression tightened. Jabari land. M'Baku has offered sanctuary. M'Baku? N'Kalu's surprise was evident. Since when is he our ally? Since fishermen found Chala's body on their shores. N'Kalu stopped dead. He's alive. Barely. Nakia tugged him forward. The cold water preserved him, but he needs help only the heart-shaped herb can provide. Hope surged through Nkalu's chest. Then let's go get it. Killmonger ordered all the herbs burned. The hope faltered. All of them? Nakia pulled him into a service passage as guards ran past. Shuri believes she saved one. It's hidden in her lab. Then that's where we go first. Too risky. The lab is heavily guarded. Nkalu smiled grimly. Not for me. Shuri's lab buzzed with activity. Killmonger had technicians working around the clock, preparing weapons for global distribution. Security was indeed heavy, at least 30 guards with advanced weaponry. Nkalu observed from a maintenance shaft, mapping patrol patterns and identifying weak points. I count 37 armed personnel, he reported to Nakia through their comms. Including 5 with sonic weapons. Those were designed for you specifically, Nakia warned. Shuri created them after Vienna in case your powers were ever compromised. Remind me to thank her for the vote of confidence. Nkalu continued scanning. I see the garden section where the herbs are grown. It's burned, just as you said. Shuri hid one specimen in her personal workstation. Northeast corner, under the model panther. Nkalu located it. I see it. On my mark, trigger the alarm in Sector 4. That should draw at least half the guards. Ready when you are. 3, 2, 1, mark. Alarms blared in a distant section of the lab. As predicted, guards rushed to investigate, leaving thinner coverage near Shuri's workstation. Nkalu moved with superhuman speed, a blur of motion as he entered the lab through a maintenance hatch. He reached the workstation in milliseconds, retrieved the hidden herb, and prepared to exit. A sonic blast caught him mid-stride. The pain was immediate and disorienting, a frequency specifically calibrated to his Kryptonian physiology. Nkalu dropped to one knee, the herb clutched tightly in his fist. Thought you might try something like this, Wabi emerged from behind a console, sonic weapon leveled. Predictable. Nkalu struggled against the debilitating sound waves. Why, Wabi? You were loyal to Chaka for decades. And where did that loyalty lead? To a king who hid behind our borders while the outside world burned. Who adopted an alien while abandoning his own blood. Wabi increased the weapon's intensity. Killmonger will lead Wakanda into its rightful place in the world. He'll start a war we can't win, Nkalu gasped, fighting to remain conscious. We have you, Wabi countered. The alien prince. Wakanda's secret weapon. Through pain-blurred vision, Nkalu saw guards converging. The herb in his hand represented Chala's only chance at survival. With desperate focus, he tapped into reserves of strength. You don't have me, he growled, forcing himself upright. You never did. With a burst of speed that surprised even Wabi, Nkalu launched forward. The sonic weapon discharged at point-blank range, sending waves of agony through his skull, but momentum carried him through. His fist connected with the device, shattering it instantly. Wabi staggered back, shouting for guards. Containment protocol. Use the vibranium nets. Nkalu didn't give them the chance. He shot upward, crashing through the laboratory ceiling and into open air. The sudden absence of sonic disruption allowed his powers to resurge. He accelerated away from the palace, the precious herb secure. Bullets tracked his path, ineffective but indicative of the alarm he'd triggered. The entire security force would mobilize within minutes. I have it, he reported to Nakia. Rendezvous at the secondary location. Already there, she confirmed. Bring it quickly. Chala doesn't have much time. The Jabari land stretched across Wakanda's northern mountains, isolated and fiercely traditional. M'Baku's people had rejected vibranium technology, maintaining ancient ways that most Wakandans viewed as primitive. Nkalu landed at the designated coordinates, finding Nakia waiting beside a concealed mountain path. "You're injured," she observed, noting blood trickling from his ears. "Sonic weapons," Nkala dismissed it. "My hearing will recover." "Did anyone follow you?" "No. The Dora Milaje created confusion about our direction." Nakia accepted the herb. "Come. M'Baku is expecting us." The path wound through dense forests and narrow passages before opening to a vast wooden structure built into the mountainside. Jabari warriors stood guard, their wooden armor and gorilla masks creating an imposing barrier. "The alien prince arrives," one announced as they approached. Nkalu stiffened. "You know. M'Baku has known for years," Nakia explained quietly. "He keeps the Jabari's secrets, he can keep yours." Inside, they found a solemn gathering. Ramonda knelt beside a still form submerged in snow, Chala, his skin ashen, barely breathing. "Brother," Nkala rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside the fallen king. "We stabilized him as best we could," M'Baku's deep voice rumbled from a wooden throne. "But his spirit wanders between worlds. The herb will bring him back," Ramonda stated with conviction, accepting it from Nakia. "Prepare the ritual." While Jabari shamans mixed the herb into a potion, Nkala clasped Chala's cold hand. "Fight, brother. Wakanda needs you." "And what of you?" M'Baku asked, approaching with surprising quietness for his size. "What does the Star Child need?" Nkala glanced up, startled by the ancient name, one Chaka had used when he first found him. "You know more than you should," he observed. M'Baku shrugged massive shoulders. "The Jabari remember old stories. A child falling from the stars, adopted by the Plains King. We thought it merely legend until Chaka brought a blue-eyed boy to the Challenge Falls. And you never spoke of it?" "Not our secret to tell." M'Baku studied him thoughtfully. "But Killmonger has no such restraint. By now, all of Wakanda knows of your true origins." The realization settled heavily. Nkalu had always known this day might come, but he'd imagined it happening on his terms, not as a weapon against the family who raised him. "The ritual is ready," Ramonda announced. They buried Chala in ceremonial soil, the herb-infused potion administered by Ramonda's steady hands. As they waited for signs of life, Nkalu stood apart, his thoughts tumultuous. "If he doesn't wake," M'Baku said quietly, joining him, "what will you do?" "Stop Killmonger. Whatever it takes. Even reveal yourself completely to the world. Use the full extent of your powers." Nkala met his gaze steadily. "If necessary." M'Baku seemed to weigh this. "The Hidden King had his reasons for keeping your abilities secret. Once revealed, they cannot be hidden again." "I know. But Chaka is gone. And the world is changing." Their conversation halted as the ceremonial soil began to shift. Chala emerged, gasping, eyes wild as he returned from the ancestral plane. "Chala!" Ramonda cried, embracing her son. Nkala moved forward, relief washing through him as Chala's gaze focused, recognition dawning. "Brother," Chala rasped. "You found me." "Always," Nkala promised, clasping his arm. As Chala recovered his strength, they shared information, Killmonger's plans, the burned herbs, the weapons being prepared for shipment worldwide. "He plans to expose Wakanda completely," Nakia explained. "Not just our technology, but our vibranium weapons. He'll arm oppressed groups around the world to rise up against governments. Creating chaos he can exploit," Chala concluded. "How soon?" "The first shipments leave tomorrow," Nkala reported. 3 aircraft, heavily armed. Chala struggled to his feet, determination overriding physical weakness. "Then we move tonight. Retake the throne before those ships depart." "You're in no condition to fight," Ramonda protested. "I must." Chala looked to each of them. "This is my responsibility. My kingdom." "Our kingdom," Nkala corrected. And you won't fight alone. M'Baku cleared his throat dramatically. As entertaining as your family loyalty is, you face an army. Killmonger has the Dora Milaje, the border tribe, and the palace guard. Not all the Dora Milaje, Nakia countered. Okoye remains loyal to Chala, as do many others. Still significantly outnumbered, M'Baku observed. Chala looked to the Jabari leader. Will you help us, M'Baku? Stand with Wakanda in its time of need? The Jabari have stood apart from Wakanda for generations. Why should we intervene in your power struggle? Because Killmonger's war won't stop at Wakanda's borders, M'Kalu said quietly. It will reach even these mountains. M'Baku considered this, then laughed suddenly. You argue like a Jabari, star child. He turned to Chala. Very well. The Jabari will fight. But not for you, for Wakanda. The plan developed quickly. Chala would challenge Killmonger directly, reclaiming the throne through traditional combat. Meanwhile, M'Kalu, Nakia, and the Jabari forces would secure the weapons shipments, preventing global distribution regardless of the challenge's outcome. What about your powers? Shuri asked M'Kalu as she made final adjustments to his suit, retrieved from a secret cache outside her laboratory. Will you use them openly now? If necessary, M'Kalu replied, watching her work. Killmonger has already revealed my origins. The question is how much more I'm willing to show. The world already suspects after Vienna, she noted. Maybe it's time they knew the truth. Which truth? That I'm Kryptonian. That would only create more fear. Shuri paused, looking up from her work. That you're here to help. That power doesn't have to be something to fear. Before M'Kalu could respond, Chala entered, now wearing a simple black combat suit. The herb had restored his strength, but he moved with the caution of someone recently returned from death's threshold. Are we ready? He asked. M'Kalu nodded, accepting the upgraded Black Panther helmet from Shuri. The Jabari are in position. Okoye has secretly gathered loyal Dora Milaje. We move at your signal. Then it's time. Chala embraced his brother briefly. Whatever happens, protect Wakanda first. I will, M'Kalu promised. But I'm bringing you home too. They separated at the mountain pass, Chala heading directly for the palace to issue his challenge, M'Kalu leading a strike force toward the airfield where Killmonger's weapons shipments awaited departure. The night provided cover as they approached. M'Kalu used his enhanced vision to scout ahead, identifying guard positions and security measures. 23 guards on the perimeter, he reported to Nakia. Automated defense systems active on the main building. Can you disable them without alerting the palace? M'Kalu smiled slightly. Watch me. He moved with inhuman speed, a blur crossing open ground before guards could react. The first sentry fell without a sound, precisely calculated force rendering him unconscious without permanent damage. The second and third followed in rapid succession. Within minutes, M'Kalu had neutralized the entire perimeter security team without raising an alarm. He signaled Nakia and the Jabari contingent forward. The defense systems are linked to the main palace grid, Shuri's voice came through their comms. I can't disable them remotely since Killmonger locked me out. I don't need remote, M'Kalu replied. Just tell me which panel to target. Guided by Shuri's instructions, he located the external access point. A focused burst of heat vision, an ability he rarely displayed even to his family, melted through protective shielding, allowing him to manually override the system. I'm in, he confirmed as lights dimmed across the facility. Proceed to the aircraft. They moved efficiently through the darkened compound. Inside the main hangar, 3 sleek Wakandan aircraft stood fully loaded, weapons caches secured in their cargo holds, flight crews making final preparations. Disable the ships, Nakia ordered the infiltration team. We need to prevent takeoff at all costs. M'Kalu focused on the lead aircraft, scanning its interior with his vision. What he saw froze his blood. Wait, he commanded. There are civilians on board. Children. What? Nakia joined him, peering through conventional binoculars. Why would Killmonger put children on weapons transports? Hostages? Or? The realization struck both simultaneously. Human shields, Nakia whispered. Nkalu's jaw tightened. He anticipated our move. Knows we won't risk civilian casualties. This changes the approach. We need to evacuate the civilians first, then disable the aircraft. No time, Nkalu assessed rapidly. Look at the activity level. They're preparing for immediate departure. Chala's challenge must have been issued. Nakia cursed softly. Options? Nkalu considered, then decided. I'll handle the aircraft. Get your team into position to secure the weapons and protect the civilians once I've removed them. What are you going to do? Something dramatic, he admitted. Something I can't take back. Before she could question further, Nkalu moved, accelerating to a speed that rendered him nearly invisible to normal perception. He reached the first aircraft as its engines initiated startup sequence. With precise force, he punched through the external plating, creating an access point. Inside, startled crew members reached for weapons. This ship isn't leaving, Nkalu announced, Black Panther helmet retracting to reveal his face. Surrender and no one gets hurt. It's the alien, someone shouted, confirming Killmonger had indeed spread the truth of his origins. Gunfire erupted, ineffective against his Kryptonian physiology even without the suit's protection. Nkalu moved methodically through the aircraft, neutralizing crew without harming the civilians secured in the midsection. Stay down, he instructed the frightened passengers, mostly women and children from the river tribe, he noted. Help is coming. With the first aircraft secured, he moved to the second, which had begun taxiing toward the runway. This time, he didn't bother with internal access. Planting himself directly in the aircraft's path, he braced as it accelerated toward him. The impact would have killed any human. Nkalu absorbed it, his feet creating furrows in the tarmac as the aircraft's momentum pushed him back several meters before grinding to a halt. Maintaining his grip on the nose section, Nkalu lifted. The aircraft's engines screamed in protest as the front wheels left the ground, then the entire forward section. With controlled strength, he tilted the vessel until it balanced precariously on its rear landing gear, effectively preventing takeoff. Inside, chaos erupted as crew and captives alike tumbled from their positions. Nkalu used his heat vision to weld the main hatch shut, containing everyone until Nakia's team could secure them. The third aircraft had already begun its takeoff roll, accelerating rapidly down the runway. Nkalu launched into pursuit, pushing his speed beyond what he typically displayed. He overtook the accelerating craft seconds before it would have lifted off. Rather than stopping it directly, he targeted the wing section, using precise force to damage control surfaces without risking catastrophic failure. The aircraft veered, pilots fighting to maintain control as it slowed and eventually halted near the runway's end. As Nakia's team secured the grounded aircraft and evacuated civilians, Nkalu realized they had an audience. Palace security had arrived, along with news crews Killmonger had invited to document his weapons distribution, part of his strategy to reveal Wakanda to the world. Instead, they captured footage of Nkalu performing feats no human could accomplish. So much for secrets, Nakia observed as she joined him, watching the cameras record their activity. Killmonger already told them what I am, Nkalu replied. Now they see what that means. His comms unit activated with an urgent signal from Shuri. Nkalu. Chala needs you. Killmonger is using our anti-Kryptonian weapons against him. Where? Vibranium mine. Central processing facility. Nkalu looked to Nakia. Can you handle this? She nodded grimly. Go. He launched skyward, accelerating to speeds that created a sonic boom over the palace. The cameras followed his ascent, broadcasting the image of Wakanda's alien prince to a world unprepared for such revelations. The Vibranium Mine's central processing facility operated on multiple levels, a massive complex built within the sacred mountain. Nkala located the disturbance immediately, explosions and energy discharges on the main transport level. He found Chala and Killmonger locked in brutal combat, both wearing different versions of the Panther habit. Chala's suit showed damage from what appeared to be concentrated energy weapons, the anti-Kryptonian technology Shuri had developed as a precaution. "Your alien brother coming to save you?" Killmonger taunted, firing another energy burst that sent Chala staggering back toward the processing line. "Too bad these weapons work on regular humans too." Nkala landed heavily on the platform, the impact cracking vibranium-reinforced flooring. "That's enough, Killmonger." Eric turned, grinning beneath his golden-accented mask. "Just in time. I was hoping you'd join us." He raised the energy weapon. "Let's test Shuri's toys properly, shall we?" The blast hit Nkala squarely, driving him to his knees as synthetic kryptonite radiation pulsed through his system. Unlike natural kryptonite, the Wakandan version caused intense pain without permanent cellular damage, designed for containment rather than killing. "Hurts, doesn't it?" Killmonger approached, firing again. "All that power, and a rock from your dead planet brings you down." Through pain-blurred vision, Nkala saw Chala attempt to tackle Killmonger from behind. The usurper sensed the attack, whirling to engage. The momentary distraction gave Nkala precious seconds to recover. "You can't beat both of us," Chala declared, landing a powerful combination that drove Killmonger back. "Don't need to." Killmonger gestured to the facility around them. "Just need to complete the mission my father died for." Nkala realized with horror what he meant. The processing facility controlled Wakanda's vibranium distribution system, including security protocols that prevented weaponized applications from leaving the country. From here, Killmonger could override those safeguards, allowing global distribution. "Chala!" Nkala shouted. "The control center." Understanding dawned on the king's face. He changed tactics, attempting to drive Killmonger away from the central console. Killmonger anticipated this, laying down suppressive fire with the energy weapon that kept both brothers at bay while he reached the controls. "Too late," he crowed, initiating the override sequence. "Wakanda's secrets go worldwide in 5 minutes." Nkala exchanged a quick glance with Chala. A decision point: maintain some semblance of restraint or unleash his full abilities. "No holds barred," Chala confirmed, reading his brother's thoughts. Nkala nodded, then moved with his true speed. The world seemed to slow around him as he accelerated beyond human perception, crossing the space between himself and Killmonger in milliseconds. Before Killmonger could react, Nkala had disarmed him, crushing the energy weapon and flinging him away from the console. The impact sent Killmonger crashing through a safety barrier and onto a lower processing level. "System locked," Nkala reported, fingers flying over the controls to halt the override sequence. Chala joined him, breathing heavily from exertion. "Is it done?" "Not yet." He initiated a secondary protocol. "The system needs royal authorization to terminate completely." Chala placed his Kimoyo beads against the scanner, providing the necessary authentication. Override terminated. They had seconds of reprieve before Killmonger reappeared, having climbed back to their level. His panther habit showed damage, but his determination remained undiminished. "You really think this ends here?" he demanded, drawing vibranium daggers. "Even if you stop me, the world already knows. About Wakanda, about your alien prince. Then they'll also know we stood against you," Chala replied. "That we chose protection over conquest." Killmonger laughed bitterly. "Protection? Where was that protection when my father died? When children like me suffered while you hoarded your technology and your alien behind your borders?" "You're right," Chala admitted, surprising both Killmonger and Nkala. "Wakanda has failed its responsibilities to the wider world. But your father's vision, your vision, would only replace one kind of oppression with another. Pretty words from a comfortable throne, Killmonger snarled, launching into a renewed attack. The fight intensified, both Chala and Killmonger displaying extraordinary skill. N'Kala held back, honoring his brother's right to reclaim his throne through combat. The duel carried them along processing platforms and magnetic transport rails, vibranium weapons clashing with kinetic force that reverberated through the facility. When they reached the central processing chamber, where raw vibranium was refined into usable form, Killmonger gained advantage, driving Chala back with relentless strikes. "You're still weak from the falls," Killmonger taunted, landing a devastating blow that sent Chala sprawling dangerously close to an active processing line. "Should have stayed dead." N'Kala tensed, ready to intervene as Killmonger raised a dagger for a killing strike. Chala, however, had been feigning the extent of his vulnerability. As Killmonger attacked, Chala triggered his suit's kinetic energy release, the stored power from Killmonger's own blows erupting in a concussive wave that sent the usurper flying. Killmonger landed on a transport rail, momentarily stunned. Chala pursued, the two grappling precariously above the processing machinery. "Yield!" Chala demanded. "It's over, cousin." "Never." Killmonger broke free, twisting to drive his dagger toward Chala's exposed side. N'Kala saw the strike coming, saw Chala's fatigue slowing his reaction. Without conscious thought, he moved, faster than humans could perceive, crossing the chamber and intercepting the blade before it found Chala's flesh. The vibranium dagger shattered against N'Kala's palm. "Enough," N'Kala stated, lifting Killmonger by his suit's collar. "You've lost." "Have I?" Killmonger grinned despite his predicament. "Look around you, alien. The cameras are still rolling." N'Kala realized with a start that the facility's security feeds were active, and likely broadcasting beyond Wakanda. Everything, his speed, his invulnerability, his strength, captured for the world to see. Killmonger took advantage of his momentary distraction. With a desperate twist, he triggered a sonic emitter built into his suit, a smaller version of the weapon Wabi had used in Shuri's lab. The concentrated sound waves hit N'Kala at point-blank range, overwhelming his sensitive hearing. His grip loosened reflexively, allowing Killmonger to break free. Instead of attacking again, Killmonger backed toward the edge of the platform. "Your secret's out, alien prince. The world knows what hides in Wakanda now. The world will know a man who stood with his family against one who would start global war," N'Kala responded, fighting through the sonic disorientation. Killmonger laughed. "Always so righteous. Just like Chaka. That self-satisfaction while the rest of us suffered." His expression hardened. "This isn't over." Before either could stop him, Killmonger stepped backward off the platform, falling toward the processing machinery below. N'Kala lunged forward, reaching with superhuman speed, but Killmonger twisted mid-air, ensuring he fell into a section where even Kryptonian reflexes couldn't reach him in time. The processing beam engulfed him briefly, then he was gone. "N'Jadaka!" Chala shouted, rushing to the platform's edge. They searched the facility thoroughly, but found no trace of Killmonger's body. Whether he had somehow survived or been completely destroyed in the vibranium processing system remained unclear. "We need to secure the palace," Chala decided finally. His supporters might still resist. N'Kala nodded, though his attention remained partly focused on the active cameras. "What about this?" He gestured to the recording equipment. "The world has seen." "Let them see," Chala said firmly. "No more secrets, brother. It's time Wakanda, and you, stepped into the light." The days following Killmonger's defeat brought tumultuous change. Wabi and other supporters were arrested, the border tribe temporarily placed under Okoye's supervision. Chala formally reclaimed the throne, though his physical recovery continued. Most significantly, the revelation of both Wakanda's advanced technology and N'Kala's extraterrestrial nature created international shockwaves. Media outlets worldwide broadcast footage from the vibranium facility and airfield, showing capabilities that challenged humanity's understanding of what was possible. The United Nations has requested an official statement, Nakia reported during a council meeting 3 days after the battle. The American Secretary of State demands immediate discussion of the alien presence in Wakanda. They have no jurisdiction here, the mining tribe elder stated firmly. Perhaps not legally, Ramonda countered, but practically. The world has questions we must answer. Nkalo sat quietly, listening to the debate. His life had fundamentally changed. The careful balance Chaka had maintained between his Wakandan identity and Kryptonian heritage had collapsed completely. "What are your thoughts, Nkalo?" Chala asked, silencing the council's discussion. "This concerns you most directly." Nkalo considered carefully before responding. "For my entire life, I've been taught to hide what I am. To use my abilities in service to Wakanda, but never so openly that the world might discover the truth." He met his brother's gaze. "Perhaps father was wrong. Perhaps both Wakanda and I have hidden too long." Murmurs rippled through the council. "You suggest revealing yourself completely?" Wabi, present despite his arrest status, asked incredulously. "Not everything," Nkalo clarified. "But enough. The world has seen what I can do. Their fear will only grow if I retreat into shadows now." Chala nodded thoughtfully. "This aligns with my thinking as well. Wakanda has hidden too long behind its protective barrier, as has Nkalo behind his human identity. Perhaps Killmonger was right about one thing, we have a responsibility to engage more directly with the world's challenges." "With respect, my king," the River Tribe elder interjected, "revealing our technology is one thing. But an alien with such powers? The world will fear him, and by extension, us." "They already fear what they don't understand," Nkalo replied. "The question is whether we give them reason to overcome that fear." The debate continued for hours, weighing implications and potential approaches. Ultimately, Chala made his decision. "We will address the United Nations in 1 week," he announced. "I will present Wakanda's new position on global engagement. Nkalo will accompany me, not hiding his abilities, but demonstrating how they can serve humanity's interests alongside Wakandan technology." "And the Americans' demands?" Nakia asked. "We will meet with them beforehand," Chala decided. "Selected representatives only. They deserve answers, but on our terms." As the council adjourned, Shuri approached Nkalo with uncharacteristic hesitation. "I have something for you," she said, leading him to her laboratory, now restored following Killmonger's occupation. "It might help with what's coming." In a secure section, she revealed a new suit, similar to his Black Panther design but incorporating elements he recognized from his birth parents' technology. "I've been studying the Kryptonian crystals," Shuri explained. "Their data storage capabilities are remarkable, but they also contain molecular structures unlike anything on Earth. I've integrated some into this design." Nkalo examined the suit with appreciation. "It's beautiful work. It's more than cosmetic," she continued excitedly. "The Kryptonian elements enhance your natural abilities, solar energy absorption, sensory processing, even flight dynamics. And look." She activated a display sequence, showing how the suit could shift between configurations, from the familiar Black Panther design to a new form that incorporated the symbol of the House of El, 2 identities, Shuri explained. "The Black Panther for Wakandan matters. And this," she gestured to the L symbol, "for the wider world. Your Kryptonian heritage acknowledged alongside your Wakandan upbringing." Nkalo touched the symbol, emotion tightening his throat. "Thank you, Shuri. Just don't get too dramatic with it," she teased, recovering her usual manner. "The world will think you're showing off." The American delegation arrived 3 days later, a carefully selected team led by a General Sam Lane and including scientific and diplomatic representatives. Most notably, it included a young businessman named Lex Luthor, CEO of LexCorp and rising star in American technological development. They met in the palace's diplomatic chamber, a space designed to impress foreign visitors while revealing only selected aspects of Wakandan advancement. Thank you for agreeing to this dialogue, Chala began formally. Wakanda understands the world's interest following recent events. Interest is putting it mildly, Your Highness, General Lane replied. You've revealed not only advanced technology beyond anything publicly known, but also an extraterrestrial being with powers that pose significant security concerns. Nkalu, seated beside Chala in formal Wakandan attire, noted the military man's careful phrasing, publicly known, suggesting classified awareness of other such incidents. My brother has lived among us since infancy, Chala stated. He is a prince of Wakanda, raised in our traditions and values. Yet not human, Luther interjected, his keen gaze fixed on Nkalu with undisguised fascination. Forgive my directness, Prince Nkalu, but the footage from your confrontation with Killmonger shows capabilities far beyond human limitation. Flight. Invulnerability. Superhuman strength and speed. I was born on a planet called Krypton, Nkalu confirmed, speaking publicly of his origins for the first time. It was destroyed shortly after my parents sent me to Earth. King Chaka found my ship and raised me as his son. And there are no others like you? Lane pressed. Not to my knowledge. Krypton's destruction was complete. Luther leaned forward. Your abilities, they result from Kryptonian physiology interacting with Earth's environment. Particularly our yellow sun. Nkalu glanced at Chala, who nodded slightly. Yes. My cellular structure processes solar radiation differently than humans, resulting in enhanced capabilities. Fascinating, Luther murmured. The scientific implications alone are not why we're here, Lane interrupted. The United States government is concerned about security implications. An individual with your abilities operating without oversight, my brother answers to Wakanda, Chala stated firmly. As do I. We understand your concerns, but Nkalu's status as Wakandan royalty is non-negotiable. With respect, Your Highness, a State Department representative interjected, international law has no precedent for an extraterrestrial holding political office in a sovereign nation. Then perhaps it's time to establish such precedents, Chala replied smoothly. Unless your nation objects to individuals based on their place of birth. The diplomatic fencing continued for hours. Throughout, Nkalu noticed Luther's attention rarely wavering from him, analytical, calculating, with an intensity that suggested more than casual interest. When they broke for refreshments, Luther approached Nkalu directly. Your abilities would revolutionize multiple scientific fields, he stated without preamble. LexCorp would be honored to establish a research partnership exploring applications of Kryptonian biology. I'm not a laboratory specimen, Mr. Luther, Nkalu replied evenly. Of course not, Luther's smile didn't reach his eyes. You're a survivor of an advanced civilization. Imagine what humanity could learn, clean energy solutions based on your cellular processes, medical applications from your invulnerability, transportation revolutions from your flight capability. Technological advancement interests you greatly, Nkalu observed. It's civilization's driving force, Luther confirmed. Those who control technological evolution control humanity's future. Currently, that's Wakanda and you. His expression hardened slightly. That monopoly concerns many people. Is that a threat, Mr. Luther? An observation. Luther sipped his drink. History shows that power concentrations eventually disperse, peacefully or otherwise. Wakanda has hoarded technological advantages for generations. You represent an even greater imbalance. Or perhaps, Nkalu countered, I represent the possibility that power can be used for protection rather than domination. Luther's smile returned, genuine this time. Idealism. How refreshing. He extended his card. When reality tempers that idealism, my offer remains open. The negotiations concluded with limited agreements. Wakanda would address the United Nations, provide specific humanitarian technologies for global distribution, and establish formal diplomatic relations with major powers. In exchange, Nkalu's status as a Wakandan citizen and prince would be provisionally recognized pending broader international discussions. As the American delegation departed, Chala joined Nkalu on the landing pad. "Your impressions?" the king asked. "Lane fears what he doesn't understand," Nkalu assessed. Standard military response. "But Luther." He hesitated. "He understands too well. And sees me as technology to be acquired rather than a person." "A dangerous perspective," Chala agreed. "We'll monitor LexCorp closely. There will be others like him," Nkalu noted. "People who see me as a resource to exploit or a threat to eliminate. All the more reason for you to define yourself publicly before others define you." Chala clasped his shoulder. "The United Nations address is our opportunity to shape that narrative." The world watched as Wakanda's delegation arrived at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Chala led the procession, followed by Nkalu, Okoye, Nakia, and selected tribal representatives. Nkalu felt the weight of global scrutiny as he entered the General Assembly Hall. Thousands of eyes tracked his movement, millions more watching via broadcast. He wore the suit Shuri had designed, configured in its Wakandan mode but with subtle elements of his Kryptonian heritage incorporated into the design. Chala's address began with Wakanda's history, the impact of vibranium, the decision to isolate, the technological development that occurred behind protective barriers. He acknowledged both the wisdom and the failings of this approach. "We maintained our security," the king stated, "but at the cost of others' suffering. While Wakanda flourished, our brothers and sisters around the world faced challenges we might have helped address." He outlined Wakanda's new initiative: targeted technological sharing, humanitarian outreach, diplomatic engagement. Not throwing open their borders completely, but selectively sharing advantages where they could most benefit humanity. Then came the moment Nkalu had both anticipated and dreaded. "Many have questions about my brother," Chala acknowledged. "About his origins and his abilities. I invite Prince Nkalu to address these questions directly." Nkalu stepped to the podium, the hall falling completely silent. "I was born on a planet called Krypton," he began, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "Sent to Earth as an infant when my world faced destruction. Found and raised by King Chaka of Wakanda, who taught me that power carries responsibility." He paused, letting the words register. "My abilities come from my Kryptonian physiology interacting with Earth's environment. They have been a subject of fear and speculation since their public revelation. Today, I wish to address that fear directly." With deliberate movement, Nkalu activated the suit's transformation sequence. The familiar Black Panther design shifted, reconfiguring into its Kryptonian mode, black and silver with the House of El symbol prominently displayed. Gasps rippled through the assembly. "I stand before you as both Wakandan and move ahead to the next chapter of the book." The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.